I think people often overestimate how much stuff they need and tend to overload their vehicles, which tends to lead to breakages and things like that.
Do you need to take that extra carton of beer, or do you need the 7 bags of firewood on the roof of your car or strapped to the front of the van? So
You'll say yes.
always.
Yeah.
Do you need to take your flamethrower with you? Yes. Yeah.
Go away for 5 days with 5 cars and you only have to cook one dinner.
Just make sure you cook on the first night, so then your responsibility's done.
That's right.
I'm all over it, mate.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Off Grid Down Under podcast, brought to you by MDC. We are sitting here today. We're going to talk about a interesting topic, a bit less about caravans, but more about outback travel. So the topic for today is exploring and preparing for outback travel. We've got some special guests, as we always do. We mix it up. We keep people busy and on their toes. We've got Mark Banks with us from Beach to Bush.
Hello, Sam. How you going?
Good, mate. Thanks for coming along again. We've got Mr. Wayne Chevis, our Assistant National Sales Manager.
G'day, Sam. How are you today?
Good, mate. And we're joined by a special guest called Robbie Kerr from the Brisbane 4-Wheel Drive Club. Robbie is actually the president of the Brisbane 4-Wheel Drive Club, so welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Sam.
Look, the purpose of today is really just to get a bit of an understanding about what's involved before you head out off grid. The previous podcast, we talked about sort of vehicle preparedness and, I guess, spares and things like that to take out on the track with us. But this trip's more about the planning, the adventure. What do we need to do to kind of set up and travel into the outback, some of the considerations we have, and, is it best to kind of travel in numbers, travel alone, and sort of get a bit of an insight from what other people have experienced over time? So we've brought Robbie on. Robbie's done a lot of outback travel with the Brisbane 4-Wheel Drive Club, and I think she brings a lot of experience to the discussion. So that's why we wanted to bring you in today. And Robbie, if you can just tell us a bit about yourself and how you got into four-wheel driving.
I think as a youngster, I always enjoyed getting out into the wilds, having adventures, and that usually meant that it was me and all of the local boys from the street or the neighbourhood. And then, so Fort Lytton and the Port of Brisbane, around that area, was where we used to get to. I grew up in Wynnum West, so we used to head off that way on our bicycles. Which we quickly modified to put bigger tyres on them and stop them getting stuck places.
Well, that hasn't changed. I've seen your car. Yeah.
No, yeah. And the other place I loved exploring was Point Lookout. That was a place that I went to often.
Over on Stratty.
As a kid, yeah. My family had a couple of little fishing huts on the very highest part of Point Lookout, and they were nothing at all, but best times were had there.
Yeah, nice.
Little 2-bedroom places, no showers, or, I think we had a toilet, an outdoor one. But
okay. Pretty
it was
basic.
Great.
So how did that lead you into the forward driving world? I guess that sense of adventure?
I think that's been a consistent theme of, the Dow of Robbie. Like, I've always enjoyed being outside, getting dirty, exploring things, and that's never left me. In the decades when I haven't had an office job, I'd spend quite a bit of time thinking about them, what I could do and where I could go.
Well, you're in the fortunate position now where you can travel a bit more, kind of at a stage in your life where you can get out there a bit more, and you've just got back from a week down the Barrington Tops, reconnoitering a trip for the 4-Wheel Drive Club.
That's it. So now that I no longer have to work for a living, and I've managed to see my way through to that part of life, it's fantastic. Yeah. My partner still works, but, things happen.
You can't sit at home waiting, can you?
So that's one of the reasons why I head off on my own quite a bit, because annual leave doesn't allow for what I want to do.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
How did you become affiliated with the 4-Wheel Drive Club, then ultimately the president?
I came to the club because I was looking for ways to build up skills. Like, I knew that if I wanted to do the tough stuff, the high country, the Cape, the deserts, get across to the Kimberley, I needed way more skills than what I had and way more knowledge than what I had. So I wanted to get to the point, like at the point that I joined the club, I could relatively confidently do some sand tracks, and that was about it. So I needed to learn more. And from my perspective now, I think probably my grandmother could drive the sand tracks that I drove, and she's dead.
Yeah. That's a hidden talent for sure. But no, look, I can understand that. And ultimately, yeah, look, I'm in the same four-wheel drive club, and you've spent a lot of time, you've been with the club for a number of years, I know that, and you're a very popular person in the club. Just you're very welcoming to a lot of new members, and I think you're always willing to share your knowledge and experience, and that's, I think, what community kind of brings. Is it... Yeah, tell us about some of the other roles you've had in the club. So you've been on the committee for a number of years. You're now the president, but what were the other roles? I think you're involved in the induction and the training sides of things.
Yeah, for the last few years I was club induction assistant, and before that assistant secretary. So that was the first role I had on the committee. I think I've been in the club about 6 years, on the committee about 4.
So what was the induction role? What did that involve?
It was really orienting people into the club and getting them up to speed about safety first, and what recovery techniques we like to use in the club, what we do, what we don't do, and why, and to get them on some initial drives and thinking about wheel placement and how to navigate obstacles.
That's really, I think, safety is the number one thing, especially remote outback travel. You want everybody safe at all times, and I think having everybody on the same page and understanding what's going to happen if a situation arises has a real lot of benefit for everybody involved. I might flick over to Mark. You're involved with the Queensland Truck Owners Association?
Yeah, Recreational Trucks Queensland.
So that's kind of a club in itself?
Yeah, so we camp monthly, and then we have little catch-ups where people just happen to say, I'm heading this way, if you want to meet, we'll meet. And then those trucks, the mob is across all brands. So you got your Vecos, you got your Isuzu, Fuso, Canners, the whole lot.
So what's the benefit then? I guess are there similar benefits for you in that truck world? And we're talking about an Isuzu MPS, like full kitted,
so
off-road, what do you call it, adventure truck or something like that?
So we're the same probably as the club. You've got new members that come along that are in the process of looking at making that step from a vehicle to a truck. So they come out to see what everyone does, what have they've got on their vehicle, and then from there they make their own plans on how they do their setup. Then you've got ones that have been fortunate and been in trucks for a long time, or they pick up an army one, Unimog, where they then go, well, I want to do this and do that. And then through my work through Airbag Man, we do a lot of talking about suspension to make it more comfortable, because a truck's different to a vehicle.
Very agricultural, yeah.
And especially over cabs. So we talk about that, and then just in general, where they're heading and where have they taken their vehicles without having issues.
Yeah. And you've been involved with, obviously, recoveries quite a bit with, obviously, probably in the four-wheel drive world, but also with the MDC owners groups, and you've come on trips with us and things like that. How important are conducting those recoveries right, and I guess having everybody on the same page is what you're doing?
Yeah, with the trucks, because of their weight, it's another factor. I know when I got mine, all my gear that I had for the Land Cruiser and the van was insufficient. So I had to upgrade in sizes to handle that sort of weight. And if you make a bad technique or use a shackle and you've got the strapped out at 14 tonne, that would cut you in half. So you've got to be very careful about how you do it. We do a lot of bridle pulls on trucks across both tow points to make it safer, and that way you're not doing just weight on one side of a chassis. And then max tracks, we used to say max tracks, but we're just careful about how we lay them out.
Yeah, right. You might double them up or put them in certain
Or just make sure where you can try to make them as level as possible. In the sand, it doesn't make a difference, but on a rocky terrain where you're trying to step up on something, as soon as you put a weight of a truck on there, quite easily you can snap them.
They can fold. They're not made for trucks, but they can be used for trucks in emergency.
Yeah. Just a bit of packing, and that just makes it so you get the grip level.
Yeah. So, Robbie, I guess back to you in that respect, the recovery equipment, does the club put a lot of emphasis on having rated or Australian standard sort of recognised recovery gear?
Yeah, we do. It's getting a little trickier now because some manufacturers have stopped stamping ratings on their points. So we need to backtrack, and one of our requirements for vehicles to pass inspection for our club is that they have rated recovery points front and rear, so that if somebody does get into trouble, it's possible for them to be recovered safely. And then another thing that's been happening recently is the shift across to soft equipment, to soft shackles. And so some recovery points have got hard edges on them and they're not really suited to soft shackles. So, we need to think about those sort of things as well. Where you're going to use the old-fashioned shackles and where you're going to use the soft equipment.
So it's part of an assessment when you join the club to look at what the recovery point is and which is going to be the best recovery tool for your application.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So, look, while we're on that, this is a question for everyone. We might go around the table. I'll keep with Robbie. What do you love most about the off-road lifestyle?
It fully satisfies that, theme of me of just enjoying being outside and getting dirty and having fun and enjoying the outdoors. Yeah.
Wayne?
Oh, look, Sam, as you know, grew up in the bush, so it's always been a part of my background and upbringing, but it's more about just getting out there and enjoying our big country. We're an absolutely massive country. I know we've done a few trips out west, Banksy, out to Birdsville and out Mundy and into the Simpson and stuff like that, but there is just so much to explore and people don't take advantage of it. What is it, 80% of our population lives along the coast and they don't leave the coast. So, there is a hell of a lot more out there to explore than just your backyard.
Absolutely. Banksy, you got a most sort of memorable or remote location, or what is it that you enjoy about the outback lifestyle?
Well, I'm actually same as Robbie. I think I was at a very early age, around that 10, 11, managed to convince my parents to let me deck out my push bike. And I used to live in Brisbane and I would actually ride to Robbie Island. Now, as a 12-year-old, that's... but camp along there. So anything to do where it's a bit of a challenge to get to or it's somewhere off the beaten track is always my goal. I've done up the middle road up to the Northern Territory, and then when I saw all these roads that went off to the side and Mataranka across back into Cairns, I thought, got to go give that one a try. You hear all the stories, but as long as you prepare for that and prep, I'm fortunate most times I always have another vehicle or someone with us, and that just makes it more enjoyable to get out there and just hit those spots I haven't been to before.
Yeah, look, we're going to come back to that and travelling with partners or just other people in a minute. But Robbie, have you got a most sort of memorable remote adventure? You've done quite a few remote trips and done some of the big tracks around Australia.
Yeah, I'm lucky enough to have some great memories and, I'll have those with me always. And I was struggling to pick which one I'd talk about, having a think about it. But there was a moment, it was October 23, so it's late in the season. And unusually I was travelling alone, one car. My car, and I took a friend out because randomly we were having a conversation and they said to me that they wanted to go out to the desert. They'd never been, spent their whole life on the coast. And I said, let's go. And they said, what do you mean? I said, well, I'm fully equipped. My car's in tip-top shape. Let's go.
We can do it.
Yeah. So we threw in a couple of swags and we took off, and Air Creek was in flood, so you couldn't actually cross the Simpson, but we did a trip through Flinders Ranges and went as far as Air Creek into the Simpson and came back home. But it was just a picture-perfect scene. We had a fire going and we're sitting in our chairs looking out across Air Creek, and the amount of bird life there was phenomenal. We were, yarning and saying, what sort of bird is that? And working it out. And we set up camp at about 4, so, the light was starting to fade a little. And behind us was this big red dune, a few stories high.
Yeah, epic.
Covered in wildflowers and, everything was just popping. and you got that rusty sand under your feet.
So good.
Yeah. So, and then as the sun set, we just had this huge blanket of stars in the sky. It was just those few hours just sitting there were just like, wow. It's like there was a show put on for us.
That's amazing. So, Wayne, you own a pest eradication business. What have been your favourite environmental moments that you've experienced?
Look, there's been a few, especially out western New South Wales, chasing pigs and goats and feral animals, especially. Didn't know that question was coming up.
It wasn't. You didn't know. Always going to be on guard.
No, look, a lot of it's always been done around Newcastle and in the Hunter Valley, but there's been a few memorable moments out western New South Wales, and one of our customers actually invited me out to his place at Cobar to get rid of some goats for him, so that was fun. So
exciting.
Went and packed up there, but much like Robbie, like just being out west is one of those beautiful spots. Like, no light pollution, stars from skyline to skyline. Like, yeah.
And you're a figurehead at the Big Red Bash for us. You go out with MDC. I don't know how many times you've been out now. You probably
with 3 now, yeah.
So that's got to be a bit of a standout.
It is always fun to get out there, and the trip out there is always fun as well. Like, there's been a couple of times where that first one that we did, Mark, where driving at night time. I know we've got a policy of don't drive at night, but when you're trying to find a campsite and it starts raining in the middle of the desert, you
got to do something.
Yeah, people getting bogged and people going back to recover, and So
cool.
But we made the right call though. And
we did,
call
yes.
it quits.
Yeah, we did call it quits. Yeah, definitely. That spot was founded on Hip Camp, and you can't really find it during the night time. So
that's good.
But pulled up, set up camp, and
you can be lucky out there just by the side of a creek or something like that.
Yeah.
And Banksy, have you got sort of a most memorable remote adventure?
So mine was the trip around Australia in 2006 with the kids. It was fantastic, but at those days I did it in an on-road version van. But now I'm filling in all those gaps. So anything to do with territory across the Cairns, I go into all those little tracks in there, and even do roads there that haven't been open for a while. And then when they open up, you go through and give it a try. During COVID, we went from Lawn Hill up to Hellgate Roadhouse by the bypass road, and that was beautiful.
Yeah, right.
Beautiful country.
So what are some of the challenges that people often face when they're sort of heading out on remote travel, in your experience? Because you run the tag-alongs.
Yeah, it's just as long as you've got an idea of where you're heading, you do a bit of Google search. I'm big into the old-fashioned map. I lay it out, and it's only rough, okay? Like, you don't have to force yourself to, I'm going to be here by day 3, because things change, or you see something that wasn't on the map, or you come across a campsite where someone tells you, you've got to go into here, and it's off the side of the road. So just as long as you do that prep work through your map, get yourself an idea of where you're heading, and then the distances just for fuel, and then I just go out there and do it.
Robbie, your experience, are there sort of challenges that people often underestimate?
I'll go the other way. I think people often overestimate how much stuff they need and tend to overload their vehicles, which tends to lead to breakages and things like that. But I agree with Banksy, like knowing how far you're going to travel, what your range is of your vehicle, allowing for any difficult terrain you might have to deal with, which will send your fuel consumption up, and making sure you've got enough fuel and water is the top thing. Food comes third for me.
I think having that really conservative approach is a safeguard, and maybe we're talking to the experienced people. We should have somebody, I don't know, that's lived it and done the hard time where they've underestimated something. But yeah, from my experience, I think I tend to agree. I kind of overcompensate more than underestimate, but that's just in my nature. Wayne, anything you got a story around there?
Completely agree with you, Sam. It's always I tend to overpack and live by the ethos, like it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. But in saying that, I remember doing a trip around Tassie when I was 18 or 19 in a Lancer wagon back in the day, little 2-wheel drive car, and did the entire west coast of Tasmania up to Cradle Mountain, right down the bottom, and then came back up the east coast, and just a little 2-wheel wagon. two-wheel drive wagon, and living on 2-minute noodles and cartons of water from Coles.
Perfect.
So it's back in the early days. You tend to just kind of rough it out a little bit more. We weren't even sleeping in swags. We were all just sleeping in the back of the car. So there's myself and a mate. And then, as you get older, you like those creature comforts, which is, why we have bigger four-wheel drives and bigger caravans and, trucks these days, Mark.
So Banksy touched on it a minute ago. Like, how do you approach planning a trip? But you sort of talked about grabbing a map and having a look at where you want to go and things like that. Robbie, I guess from a club perspective, and I guess this is where we talk about group travel. Yeah, how do we approach a club trip where you might have a group of people wanting to all go to the same place?
Yeah, so when we're doing a club trip, there's a series of givens that people have already got on board. They've got a UHF, they've got all their recovery equipment, they've got rated recovery points, they've got first aid kits, so, fire extinguishers. So when we're planning a club trip, we assume a lot of that stuff is there and in place. And then on top of that, for me, it's where are we going, how far it is, what's the range. Then my next thought is who are the least capable people on the trip in terms of their car, their experience, and what support might they need.
Because that's valid, right? I mean, just because you've got a dual cab ute and put some, all-terrain tyres on it, it may not be as capable as a 78 series 135s that's going to be capable for driving over corrugations for 4 days consistently. I think that's something to consider. There's nothing wrong with having a dual cab and getting out and doing it, but it will make you consider where you're going, the tracks you're taking, how much people are carrying, which leads to their supply requirements that they might need to have, all those types of things, I'd imagine.
Yeah, that's right. And how you're going to carry it is important too. It's got to be secured, and if it's going to get damaged on the way, it's no point taking it. For shorter trips, I kind of like sharing meals. So it sort of brings people together, and, it's also really nice to cook once and then sit back and be catered for. It's like,
right.
Bring it to me.
Go away for 5 days with 5 cars and you only have to cook one dinner.
Just make sure you cook on the first night, so then your responsibility's done.
That's right.
I'm all over it, mate.
Trust us.
I'm the same. Cook first night, and then you hang off everyone else.
But no, I agree. That's one of the best tips is if you are travelling in a group, work out your meal plan. Don't take meals for yourselves every night. Literally plan it out and divide and conquer. It's a much easier and better way to do it. So then looking at the trip plans, I guess you'll look at duration it'll take to get from point A to point B on each day. Obviously the terrain that you might encounter. Do you sort of do any more research into the place you're going? I know for a lot of our MDC trips we do a lot of, we use YouTube a lot. Like we will go and Google Maps, and I know Wayne, you've sort of been involved with some of that stuff too. Looking at locations, time of year, best time to go, all that type of stuff. Is that a consideration from your point of view, Robbie?
Absolutely. I'll avidly watch YouTube just for the hell of it to look at different possibilities and places to go. But I'm currently planning a trip around Tassie February next year, so I'll look at the maps. I'll, check out what to see. So we've done several times most of the East Coast and, the major cities. So this is more of an off-road, sort of more of an adventurous trip.
Adventurous lap, yeah.
So I've been looking at what tracks, checking out the degree of difficulty. We'll be on our own, one car, so that will cause me to pull back on where we'd go. Like if we do go and have a look at the Climbies track, for example, we'll walk up the hard bit and take the chicken track, you know. So, working out all of that.
I think that's the difference between travelling travelling alone and travelling with someone as well. If you have that backup of a second vehicle or another resource, let's call it, you can be a bit more adventurous and have a go at some of those tougher tracks, and then if something goes wrong, then you can fall back on the other vehicle. Yeah,
so our recovery options are limited because we're on our own. We're winch equipped, so we can self-recover fairly well with the help of the winch, but you've still got limited people to run around the car and set things up and do it.
Another thing on the Climbys track, and I talk about this because I considered it as well when I was on a family trip down there. I was on my own.
You
towing.
would.
Yeah, I would. I looked really carefully. The only issue was that one thing I learned is that because it's so coastal, it's only very low-lying scrub. There's actually no trees really on the Climbys track to winch off.
Yeah.
And that was really the only thing that stopped me going down there. It was going, well, all right, I've got a winch, but do I have something to winch off? And you go to the desert, not that you need a winch in the desert, you'd be pretty unlucky in that respect, but it's an example of you get out there and you realise there is nothing there to winch off. So those little things, if you can pick up little clues along the way, it does help in some of that decision making. Banksy, I guess, do you have any, changes or go-to tools or resources that you use for trip planning? I know you use paper maps and you've got the HEMA book there.
So I do the paper map first, and then I am a big fan of YouTube to see what other people have been out there. So for this latest trip I'm doing, I think I've watched 11 episodes of different people, what they've done, and then take notes. And then from that I do the Google search. Because even when you look on the map, what I was doing today, 3 of the places aren't even on the map. And then you do a search and then you come up with that's what it looks like. Oh, now I'm going to skip that one, but I'll pick that one, and that's how I pick it. And then you use wiki camps to dot the spots. Yeah. And then now I've gone in and we'll now delete, and then make that one the main one.
Yeah, cool.
But Google helps you with a lot of the places and distances and what's there.
So it doesn't need to be a full adventure spec
No.
app resource. It can be as simple as Google to find out where you want to go.
And even polar steps. I follow a few people on polar steps, and I remember seeing a post on someone that did the back half of Emerald up to Charters Towers, and I hadn't done that road before, and I pulled up there and there was a camp that I remember him talking about, so I just went to his polar steps, pulled up that particular track, went to the spot, clicked on it, went, so that's where I'm going to go. And just from me doing that on that particular trip, we had nearly 20 kilo red claw to eat over the next 3 days.
Wow, how good is that?
And that was the main reason I went there for. And that was just, we had it on steak toppers and lunch on rolls. And
get sick of it by the end of it.
Oh no, it was beautiful.
red claw rolls.
Wayne, I mean, from your point of view, what are some of the tools you might use? You're a bit of a tech guru.
Oh, thanks for leading into that one, Sam. Yeah. No, look, anyone that knows me knows that I like technology. Always have to have new gadgets to play with. But you do tend to maps, Google Maps itself, not just searching for places, but wiki camps. And I'm glad Mark mentioned Polar Steps, because that is absolutely amazing resource as well. But I know there's been a couple of times where we've been looking at trips and you kind of roughly hash out where you're going. And if you want to trust AI, drop what you're looking at into ChatGPT, Gemini. It'll pull distances. It'll give you service stations. It'll tell you what fuel they've got, what cool things to look at, like campsites, free camps, everything around a particular area. So I know I've used that a few times when going off on trips, and I know we've used it a few times with MDC as well. And it's just to hash out that the finer details. And then obviously when you do get somewhere, you can't always trust that it is 100% accurate. So then you revert back to the old resources. Like I know the last big one that we did with MDC, I was relying on a little app called Petrol Spy a couple of times just to find fuel for the patrols, mate. Yeah, with the petrol. So diesel is everywhere out in the outback, but petrol is few and far between. So
factoring that in.
Yeah.
Are there any sort of common mistakes that you see people making in trip planning? What do you look at? You're laughing about.
I'm waiting now.
Have you got some examples?
Look, I've messed up a couple of times, like not closing cupboards, or as Robbie said earlier, like not making sure that stuff is secure. Like I forgot to close the latch on my Max Tracks once, and they flew off going down the highway. Don't know how it happened, but yeah,
physics, mate.
Somebody nearly wore a couple of Max Tracks through their windscreen, but they were kind enough to pick them up for me. So that's good.
So that's just daily trip preparation, isn't it?
Yeah.
Robbie, I guess from my perspective, I tend to agree with that. It's making sure your loads are secure. I've experienced that in The Simpsons, where it's just a constant bumping, and if things aren't tied down, they just bump all day. You really do have to tie them down. More in the broader planning, I think you alluded to it earlier, that people tend to overcompensate for things they need. Would you call that probably a primary mistake, or would you call that kind of conservative planning?
I think that, it changes with every vehicle. You're going to have a GVM, and one vehicle might have a 600 kilo GVM, and another one might have a 1.2 tonne GVM. So, the must-haves are the things you got to factor in first. And sometimes the must-haves is all you can have. And getting comfortable with that.
Yeah,
It's just a place you got to get to. And for me, the must-haves, like people often forget to count the people and how much they weigh as part of their GVM, tow ball down weight, and then the big things after that are fuel and water and food. So if you've got all of those and you've got somewhere to sleep that's safe and secure and warm, then they're your must-haves.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good advice. Banksy, you've solved the GVN problem.
Oh, I forgot a must-have.
Oh, yeah? What's that?
The ability to recover yourself and some spares, basic spares.
Yeah, basic spares, absolutely. Yeah. Agreed. But from a weights point of view, Banksy, I think that's probably a consideration.
Oh, definitely. So for my old 100 Series Land Cruiser with the XT17, I was always very close to what I could carry. So on those bigger trips, I used to always go do a weigh. So I do the vehicle, do the van, come back and then go, okay, now I've got to strip weight out. One time the birds were there, and it was my first, we overcompensated. It was 128 kilo out of the van and 68 out of the vehicle to come under. But you're surprised.
What were some of the things you took out?
Oh, just extra chairs, too many pots and pans. I had two cast iron where I only need
Grill
one.
plates or something? Or?
Oh, just the old oven.
Oh, camp oven.
Camp oven, yeah.
Okay.
So I had two and didn't need two.
Yeah.
I had an extra dog bed. I know that's only small weight, but when you add that all up, I quickly got that weight off, and then we're right to go. And it's something I learnt, from early on, that it's something I do check. So even with my truck, I weigh it on the big trips, just to know where I am, so that I can allow for when you go from Minka up. You got to carry that extra fuel, and then sometimes people on my tours don't have that capacity, so I've got to allow that into my vehicle. So then you add that on, and even collecting firewood.
Yeah, okay.
So when you go along,
factoring that in,
yeah, because that can quickly throw it out. And then just always have someone at the back. So on my tours, I always pick someone like a Tail and Charlie, I call them, and they are the ones that I know that they are less guidance needed, and the ones that maybe need a bit more guidance or not sure of themselves, you put them in the convoy order so that they feel comfortable.
Sure. No, absolutely. We do a similar thing in the club too. Put different people at different abilities at certain stages in the convoy.
Yeah.
So when it comes to, I guess, setting up for success, when you're looking at doing a big remote trip, how do you decide what gear and modifications are necessary to your vehicle? Maybe I'll stick with you, Banksy, on this one and come back to Robbie.
So for mine with the truck, because it can be uncomfortable, I've gone and put airbags on the back and changed my bump stops in the front. That was a necessity, because when I add on the water to the truck, that's 400 kilo that's behind the wheels. And then if you've done weight to the front of the van because you've put extra jerry cans on, and then you transfer that ball weight to the back, that was a necessity for me. And you find that in a lot of cars too, where they throw fridge slides in the back and then throw a fridge on top of that and a couple cartons of beer.
Some of those fridge slides alone are 50 kilos.
Oh, yeah, and
some of the big ones.
And people have a habit that there might be only two of them in the vehicle, and they load everything in the back, where you've got the back seat area where on the floor you can transfer that weight to in the passenger well. And that brings it in front of the wheel. Yep. So that's my...
Yeah. Robbie, I guess any modifications that you think are truly necessary for that remote travel?
I think the ability to access things easily is important. You know, when you're doing multiple days of travel remotely, you know, the ability to quickly access your first aid kit or your spares or your food or your water. So drawers and, you know, some system that allows you to access stuff easily is one of the first things I do. So I have two cars. I have the Cruiser and the FJ Cruiser. So in the FJ, it's only minimally modified, and that's one of the first things I've done. So I carry, it's an industrial water bladder, 60 litres, and I put it in the rear footwell, strap it down. So there's the water, and it's held between the axles, the drawers at the back for, you know, pulling out a cooker, plates, knives, and I can do that without pulling anything else out. So having things easy to use and easy to set up and easy to pack down makes life a lot more enjoyable. When you have to unpack a whole car
just to get
set
one
up
thing, or set up what you need to get the table out from the
takes
bottom
the
of
joy out of things real quick.
It does. You learn very quickly. So Wayne, like towing a van and doing those kind of extended trips, what are some of the I guess the things that you've learnt that are truly necessary?
Truly necessary. So for, I reckon...
Don't say smoker, Starlink.
Smoker, yeah, a smoker, yes.
Smoker, Starlink. No, look, it's especially for those long trips, and as Mark said, like there's a few stretches out there where you just don't have access to fuel, so you need to make sure that you have enough to get yourself out of trouble, especially if the service station, outstation that you're going past might not necessarily have what you need, especially in times of high demand. Like Big Red Bash is a prime example out there. Like it's always touch and go sometimes with the fuel. But, you know, always making sure that you carry jerry cans, making sure that you've got enough water. And then, as we've all kind of touched on, making sure that your weights aren't over the top, because you'd be, as Mark touched on, you'd be quite surprised, like, you know, you've got all the stuff in your car and everything's compartmentalised in your drawers, and, you know, those clear top canvas bags are they're absolutely amazing for making sure that all your gear is there, and you just pull the drawer out and it's right there. You know where everything is all the time. But then also making sure that, you know, you're not overloading yourself. So, you know, do you need to take that extra carton of beer, or do you need the 7 bags of firewood on the roof of your car or strapped to the front of the van? So
You'll say yes.
Always.
Buy on the way.
Do you need to take your flamethrower with you?
Yes, you do. So look, that's where a caravan, I guess, comes in handy, because you're not carrying the bedding, the extra water necessarily in a vehicle. You're towing that in the unit itself behind the vehicle, so the vehicle its weight can be distributed out across the van. I guess that's one of the benefits of towing in that respect. So
one of the first big trips that I did with MDC, like first trip that I'd ever done, very, very green at travelling with a caravan, and I took everything. I took an extra 40 litres of water. I had 4 jerry cans, clothes, spare stuff, spare tools, everything. And then I think it was the trip after that, I'm like, well, I don't need any of this gear. So, cut that weight down by, 2/3 of what I took the first time. So, yeah.
So, shifting gears a little bit, talking about recoveries and what happens if things go wrong out in the bush, because they happen. You told us a good story about one of your little bush mechanic trips. We might get to that in a minute. But I'm interested in kind of Robbie's approach. What's your approach to a recovery situation that happens out in the field, and has there been an example that's kind of stood out from your point of view?
I don't want to sound too smug, but I don't have to recover very often. But I think the important things are to have an EPIRB, so I use a Zoleo, some method of communication between vehicles, if you're recovering between 2 vehicles. And I think travelling with people who know what they're doing is one of the safest things you can do as well. But yeah, touch wood, I haven't had to do any serious recovery. I did drive up a creek bed north of the Flinders Ranges on that solo trip, and it was supremely soft. And it was the softest sand I'd ever been in. And I was thinking, And my friend's looking at me like, and I'm like, it's all right. We're going to be okay. Because I knew I had tyre pressures and diff locks at my disposal as well. So I knew we were going to be okay. But, yeah, sometimes things like that can catch you out.
I think from my point of view, it's not panicking.
I did see one just outside of, where are we going? Up the other side of Gympie there, and a van had lost its wheel right on top of the bridge. And his wheel was all the way back down the road. And I said to him, mate, you just have to put it in four-wheel drive and just drag it to the other side of the bridge, get you off the road, because it'll be safer for everyone. Because trucks and cars are flying past, and he was trying to do it right there and then on the lane, and said you're going to get yourself killed.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I've had two situations, unfortunately, in four-wheel drive club trips, not necessarily towing and not remote, which was lucky, but snapped a rear axle in the car, and another one I blew a diff. And the situation for me to get home, I didn't want to pay the whatever it was going to be for a tow truck. I didn't even want to know. So I worked it out myself, but came down to removing the drive shaft, keeping the car in four-wheel drive and driving home on the front two wheels, so which is normally a rear-wheel drive, part-time four-wheel drive car. So if you think about it and talk with a few people, you can often come up with a solution to the problem.
There's always a roundabout way to do things, and that's quite common where people pull out shafts and just go on the front. And
Gets you home.
Or even cut on all-wheel drive cars, cut the front shaft off. Just so you can get back home.
Just remove the whole thing,
Yeah. Depending on the vehicle, of course.
So do you see, I guess, recovery mistakes? I mean, we're probably pretty fortunate in the four-wheel drive club that we don't see it firsthand, but is there something you've seen, Robbie, or things that we see from time to time, that the big no-nos?
Yeah, I was camped on Flinders Beach. It was a few years ago now. But some people came down the beach towing and tried to turn in to get into the campground off the beach and through the softer sand, and it was obvious they weren't going to make it. I think the tow vehicle was a tradies ute. There was a full-sized house fridge in the back of the ute. There was
Wasn't Wayne,
big
was it?
toolboxes. And
toolboxes, no doubt.
yeah, so they just kept hammering it, going back and forwards a bit, but hammering it, and it was clear they weren't going to go anywhere. So somebody went to offer them assistance and put a snatch strap over their tow ball.
The number one rule, right?
Yeah, and then to a tie-down point, not a recovery point, on the front of the ute. And they had children, like 6, 8-year-old children, standing either side of the snatch strap as they were going at it. So I went and suggested that I might be able to help. And they were like, no, we got it all sorted. And I'm like, okay, I'll go away.
Gosh.
But eventually they did get off the beach, but, you know, I just had so many red flags going off about, you know, potential for death and destruction right there.
Yeah. I mean, so if you don't know, the tow ball was not rated for essentially what would you call it, a shear
Force.
Shear force. So that's that lateral pull on the top of the ball. So it's not designed for that. It can just snap straight off. That's the danger with
And
towing off the
become
tow
a
ball.
projectile.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's plenty of things on Facebook and YouTube where tow balls have come through people's back of their car, through the window, through the seat, and hit them through the seat. So
the thing-
very dangerous.
Super dangerous. Yeah, never do it.
The other thing that I was thinking, because of the bouncing and stuff that was going on, was that the snatch strap would skip off the tow ball and just whip around through the crowd. That would be
That's the biggest
equally
fear.
as terrible.
So I guess that's a good lead into how does teamwork and communication come into play, and I guess why is that important? It's something we teach in the four-wheel drive club, but you're talking about the UHF for comms and things like that. Obviously, what's the benefit really of carrying those UHFs? It's not just a chat about where we're going to stop for, coffee at the next coffee stop, but recoveries, obviously, they play a role there.
Yeah, well, in that example, like if you had proper recovery points and things were connected properly and safely, then the person in the vehicle doing the recovery and pulling the car and caravan could have said, I'm about to go. And the person in the vehicle being recovered might have done helpful things like accelerate and be in gear.
Always helps.
Not have to put on the brake, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's Banksy, from your point of view, I guess.
Yeah, just if you're doing van recoveries or towing from the vans, at times you can do a pull from a caravan, but it's better off doing a bridle pull. So from both sides of the chassis, put a thing there and pull from the middle, and that way it shares the load. Same thing that everyone keeps out of the way. I always use soft shackles now.
And it should always be one person managing the recovery.
Yes, and then with the radio, you're saying to him, the guy up front's going, yep, I'm on my way, and you get going, and I'm going, I've got my wheels driving now, and then you wait for that initial hit.
Yeah.
And sometimes it doesn't have to be, if it's a beach, yes, you might need that little shunt, but if it's just on a bush track and you just got to get over a step up, it's just putting pressure on. So it's like, I'm taking up the slack now, I'm tight, okay, now accelerate.
Absolutely. Wayne, you got any input into that?
Just honestly, like I've seen some pretty horrific incidents with snatch straps and shackles letting loose and using inappropriate shackles, whether it be soft shackles on non-chamfered edge recovery points, and even a soft shackle can hurt when they come off. But the biggest thing would be using the appropriate recovery method. Like the amount of people that don't let their tyres down, especially in sand and stuff, like, and they're straight into max tracks or winch or a snatch rope, and it's like, well, you're not in four-wheel drive and your tyres are still sitting at 45 psi. Like,
and if you've got the van, let the tyres down on the van too.
let everything down. Yeah, so making sure you're using the appropriate recovery method first, just for safety.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I guess to you, Rob, what makes being in a club and travelling as a group so special?
For me, there's safety in numbers. Like, I've got some minor mechanical skills, and sometimes they get me in trouble, like they did yesterday.
Do you want to go into that?
No.
Leaving a rag in the airbox while you're cleaning, then turning the car on and almost
To run the compressor.
To run the compressor to blow out the airbox, forgetting the rag was in the airbox.
And then suck in. Oh.
It's lucky there was that secondary filter.
Yeah. Yeah, so short story is I got it out, and after a lot of cussing and swearing and multiple tools and car parts out on the driveway, but I got it out.
That's good.
So travelling in groups, I don't like it when groups are too big. Like, to me, 20 cars is too much. And if you're doing some remote travel, somewhere between 4 and 8 is a nice kind of number.
So I don't think you like the big red bash. We took 52.
Yeah, no.
That's not your flavour.
No, not for me. But it's good to know that you've got somebody with some mechanical knowledge in the group, and usually there's somebody with some mechanical knowledge in our club that will want to go on a trip, so that's good. Somebody with first aid skills, so you've got a broad amount of help there. And for example, if, let's say, midpoint, you got 6 cars and one of them has a catastrophic failure, like maybe somebody had a rag sucked through their intake and, blew up their turbo and their whole engine. If you had a catastrophic failure, you've got the other 5 cars to carry the people and the essentials out.
Absolutely. Yeah, Banksy, anything from a community point of view and what makes travelling in groups special?
I like doing the group, so that's what my business is just taking people out, and I have people that have got lots of experience, and I have people that it's their first time, and it's just making, as a group, that person, from when I ask especially the solo lady travellers, they say they like to just be able to get someone there to help them get them through. And then they feel confident because there's a bigger group and a variety of people they can talk to and fit in with. Because, sometimes, and I do cap mine at 10 vehicles is where I'm at. Most times I'm in that 5 to 6, and that's a good number. When we do Birdsville, of course, Daniel takes over and he looks after that bigger number, getting us from Birdsville in there. But that's just someone with experience. So as long as you use that whole group to get yourself sorted out. For my tours, I do the mechanical part of it for everyone, but it's then showing people around and just giving them options.
Yeah, I think for the newcomers and those first timers and people that want to build skills and confidence, that's where the club and the group travel kind of comes into play. And I think from an MDC point of view, when we go and do some of those trips, we've got MDC staff on hand to sort of help them get familiar with their vans. Yeah,
that is one of the best things, Sam, is actually, you know, as we like to say, like we all use our products. We're not just selling them. We're not just building them. We actually live them and experience them. But it is the ability to share your experience and your knowledge with owners, whether they be a first time owner or a second or third van owner with our product. But traveling as a group certainly has its advantages. Like you've got someone to share not your knowledge and experience, but the actual experience of being out there and traveling. So
yeah. I think from my little add-on to that is also learning from experiences when you're out there. So we've had some situations in the four-wheel drive club where vehicles have rolled over and to that point, and it's where in life are you going to get the opportunity to, thankfully everyone was totally fine, but it's that opportunity to go, okay, wow, that's a huge situation. What do we have to do here? And everyone sort of thinks, and you watch more senior people, how they conduct themselves in the situation, and you learn from that, and what are some of the techniques that we need to think about when we're doing things. So you never know what's going to happen, and you never really know what you're going to come up against. So being with other people really educates you, I find.
Definitely does.
So
even using like your Facebook groups, the MDC Oz RV Owners Group, you just go in there, and I still learn every day because you're not across everything, and I never will be. But as you get new equipment and new things come along, you see that in action. And I remember when everyone went to soft shackles, so there was a big learning curve for everyone, and edges on hitches were not acceptable, tow down points. So how do you get around that? And then you just learn from there, or you do equipment changes to make it so it's can handle that.
Yeah, so one of the things, I guess, just to draw on is that one of the reasons we brought Robbie in here today was to talk about, I guess, the value of where something like a four-wheel drive club fits for an off-grid traveller. So four-wheel drive clubs, it may not necessarily be about caravanning or towing in particular, but it's about vehicle skill and understanding your vehicle and learning new skills and techniques. So I guess, what would you say someone to Robbie who's a caravaner who's thinking about going out and remote or even just going up the beach for the first time and hasn't done a lot of off-road driving full stop? What would you say to someone thinking about joining the club, if they think it's worth it or not?
If you're not sure, it's a cheap way to learn. And if you decide that the characters in the club are not your type of people, you can always, continue on, go to another club. But, for $100 worth of membership, you get vehicle looked over, you get an induction, you get some basic driving skills, and you can, check it out.
You join the trips whenever they're on, and the new trip might be in a new location, and you'll learn different skills, different terrain.
With every trip, you learn something new, and if you get involved and get engaged and progressively try stuff that's a little bit more difficult, you get to a point where you know what your vehicle's capable of, what you're capable of, and you can usually eyeball something and think, oh yeah, I could have a crack at getting through that. I'm not sure if I'd get through, but there's people here to help me. Or you could think, I'm just going to break something.
There's a lot of security in watching another car go up it, realising how easily they do it, and go, oh, my car's more capable or less capable than that. I'll give it a try, see how it goes. But I think you do learn a lot when you get out there and do it. And I think an important lesson that I've learned, I think there is a bit of a stigma around the four-wheel drive clubs and who are the types of people that are involved. But they are very much, a lot of them are very much family-friendly, very family-oriented, very encouraging, and people that are out there trying to do the right things. We're not the hoons that are driving up and down the beaches. We're the ones that are trying to advocate for better driver safety, better education in the industry and things like that. So it's I
think interesting things happen. Like in our club, our focus is very much on, getting out and enjoying four-wheel driving, enjoying camping trips, and that takes prime position. So you find a lot of people who may never have become friends or even acquaintances otherwise in daily life become good friends because they've had those shared experiences. I mean, and, love you as I do, mate. Yeah, if it weren't for four-wheel driving and the club, would we have connected as friends?
Yeah, we may not have. Absolutely.
No.
So-
And I think the camaraderie and the connection that you build in an environment where you have to have trust of other people spills over later into other parts of life. And you get to know people who've literally got your back.
Absolutely. And look, I think, Wayne, you probably are testament to that as well for the owners groups and things like that.
Yeah, definitely, and it is one of those things where you develop friendships and build that friend base. Friend base. Yeah, that's the right word. Yeah, develop relationships with new people, and out of being customers or just people that were in the same kind of group, and now you build lifetime friendships where you're reaching out to each other outside of the four-wheel drive industry or the caravan industry, and it becomes one of those things where you just I'm trying to think of the right word here, Luke.
I guess you're starting from a place where you've got a large number of things in common just because of your interests.
Yeah,
So
you've
it
got
makes
that mutual understanding to
connection
begin
easy.
with, and then you develop your friendships from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's been really interesting. I think it's for the big takeaways I get out of this are that, look, outback touring and off-grid remote travel is accessible to just about anybody, but it pays to obviously prepare and look at the skills that you have, do a bit of a self-assessment before you take off and just go and do it. And look, ask for help, join up with other people, consider joining a group, whether it be the MDC Oz RV owners group or a four-wheel drive club to develop your skills as well, whether they be mechanical, driver ability, even just understanding is your vehicle set up correctly. I think there's a lot to take out of this. So it's been a really useful chat. Do you have any sort of closing remarks or comments, Robbie, from your point of view?
Well, look, I'd say if you've got any hesitations or you're not completely confident about something, that your family wants to do or you want to do, connect with people, learn, build skills, because there are people who are willing to share. Get in.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're hearing that resoundingly. Everyone's willing to share knowledge.
Yeah.
It's the same. So there's people who might come out on my tours and now they are different sides, New South Wales, Queensland, and they now get together and they travel together. So that's one little friendship group, and then they've got their friends that join onto that group, and then it just gets bigger. Same as going to Birdsville. I've got some really close friends that I've met out there, and we now stay in each other's homes, and when they're down this way, we reciprocate back to them, and it's a good feeling, and then you're learning from them. There's always someone that's got something that you don't try enough. So like Rowley, he's cooking on fires and fire pits is next level. So I'm always Googling and watching what he does.
Another skill set that you didn't have before.
It is fantastic. And to say you don't know, it's okay. Yeah, don't know. And then Wayne put me onto the hay smoker, and then now I'm a fan of that and cook with it very often. And I don't mind showing it when I'm away. So Gimpy Muster, we were showing some cooking. The guy put his head over and said, "What's that?" and showed him. And then now I get food porn from him all day long. he is turned into a machine with it. So it won't be long. I'll be chasing him to, what did you do to do that?
Yeah.
And it's all right. It's all good.
All right. Well, look, thank you very much for joining us. Thanks for Wayne. Thanks to Robbie. And thanks to Banksy. I think we've really got a lot of knowledge out of this session. And hopefully it has been very useful to everyone watching or listening. But thanks for joining us. If you do like what you see, please please subscribe. And we hope you can take some of this knowledge and escape with confidence wherever you want to travel around this beautiful country. And we'll see you next time.